Also Piero Venturi, which is from the External Action Services and is currently the EU Science Counsellor to the African Union, that we had the chance to have in Brussels because normally he's based in Addis Abeba. And I took the chance about his presence here to invite him and Fiorella to talk to you today about EU-Africa cooperation opportunities in R&I and Erasmus. So today, research, innovation, and education. I am Massimo Busuoli. I am the director of the NTNU Brussels office, and I will be the moderator for the event. Just a few instructions for the participants. You will have the chance after the presentations to pose questions to our speakers. We have disabled the chat, so don't try to chat, but just use the Q&A to put your name and surname, so to reserve you the right to speak. You will be upgraded as a speaker, so you will have the chance to show yourself on camera and to pose your question directly on the microphone, like in a normal workshop. Before starting, I would like just to inform you about a couple of things about NTNU. So Aaron, if you can share my very short presentation. I would like to inform you that, of course, NTNU is very keen to collaborate and open collaboration dialogues with colleagues from the research, innovation, and education area, and to even simplify the access to NTNU knowledge and to the pool of professors that are basically interested to open collaboration dialogue. We have realized a set of brochures that collect the expression of interest to the upcoming calls of Horizon Europe in the next period. By downloading this brochure that you can find on our website, you have to click on the banner that you will find on our page. You have the possibility to check which of our professors have decided to showcase the calls of interest they have in the 6 clusters of Horizon Europe. The address to access our brochures is ntnu.edu/Brussels. So feel free to have a look, to download, and feel free to contact the set of professors that decided to declare their interest in being open to receive inquiries. Should you not find the right expertise in the pool of 200 expressions of interest that are composing the set of brochures, feel free to contact any of the entry points that are listed in the brochure to check if there are other professors having the expertise you're looking for to open a dialogue for collaboration. Given this, I would like not to take too much time, so Aaron, please close the slides. And the first to talk will be Piero Venturi. Piero, it's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
So you're going to give us a bit of overview of the strategy, the policy situation, the agreements, and of course, what can be done between European and African partners to nurture the collaboration in R&I. So the floor is yours. I think Aaron is going to share your presentation.
Yes,
if you want to
that's
say
perfect.
something. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Massimo. Well, this is a great opportunity to be here, and I have really to thank Massimo and NTNU for this opportunity to present what is happening in the cooperation between Africa and Europe in R&I, and the opportunities, the platforms that we offer to increase, to implement this cooperation. So, but before going into the technicalities, I would like to give the political overview. So our political masters, the Commission led by the President von der Leyen, established the idea of a stronger Europe in the world. So this is based on the idea that this Commission must be geopolitical. What it means? It means that we have to discuss, negotiate, create synergies with specific countries, with specific regions, based on our needs and our interests. Obviously, we have to work always in multilateral fora. So at political level, obviously, G7, G20 are the ideal platforms for us, but we have also to take into account that in any specific areas, there are multilateral platforms that are working properly, and this is what we have to use to face our global challenges in different areas. And then for us, it's important also to consider that we are we are working in a level playing field. This means that we have to work in a system with open standards, no state subsidies, and absence of protectionistic laws. So this is our idea of cooperation. And then obviously all our relationships must be guided by our values. We all know them: ethics, IPRUs, integrities, independent judicial systems, use of standards, democracy. And last but not least, obviously, we have to try to make our best to talk with a united voice. So Europe, its member states, we have to work together. In Africa, we have the definition Team Europe. When we face common challenges together, European Commission and member states. At a research and innovation level, we published the communication Global Approach to Research and Innovation last June. This is a communication that has been approved by the Council, so the member states, also in last year. And basically, we have two main aims. The first one, obviously, is to preserve our openness in research and innovation, while at the same time, as I said before, promoting a level playing field and reciprocity, taking also into account always our fundamental values. This is always in a multilateral partnership where we have to try all together with our partners to face our common challenges that are green, digital, health, and innovations. This will be achieved through three main areas. The first one is the idea to have bilateral cooperations with key partners following our interests and values. But at the same time, we have to take into account also low and middle income countries. So we have to support their sustainable and inclusive development, their transition to resilient, knowledge-based societies and economies. As I said before, this is always must be done using a Team Europe approach. So strong cooperation with member states and their financial institutions. Well, let's go to see into detail our program. Horizon Europe, we all know a lot of things already about this. It started in June last year with a budget around 100 billion euros. This is the biggest international R&I cooperation program and in the world, and these are composed by targeted actions with key partners. It's interesting to note that we work into this with the 27 member states plus associated countries. When we talk about associated countries, these are the countries that are putting money in the pot of Horizon Europe, but at the same time, they have the right to sit at the table where decisions are taken about area of interest, about topics. And the association is based on geopolitical reasons. So, for example, we have associated countries in the southern Mediterranean areas. We have associated countries in the eastern regions at the border with Russia. And obviously, we have countries that are like-minded, that are at the same level of at the higher scientific level. And obviously, among them, we have to mention Norway, and then for example, Israel, Switzerland, Iceland. This new program also takes into account to open to like-minded, high science quality countries, but also not so close to Europe. So possible negotiations are open, for example, with Canada, with Japan, with Australia, Korea, New Zealand. And obviously always taking into account that the big elephant in the house is in the room is UK. And this is also something important. This is something that must be taken into account. The new approach is that while Horizon 2020, the mantra was open to the world, in this new program, Horizon Europe, for sure, we are open to the world, but always safeguarding our EU interests. In the next slide, we will see the framework program at a glance. This is a slide you will see many times in the next years. And these are the three key pillars. The first two are essential for international cooperation. In the first one, the focus is on excellent science. This means all the calls, the opportunities opened by the European Research Council, that is our tool for skyrocket science. In the last years, the main part of European Nobel Prizes have been involved in projects, have been coordinators of projects with the European Research Council. Then we have the area of Marie Skłodowska-Curie that offer a huge range of opportunities, including PhD, postdoc, networks of postdocs. And then we have the research infrastructures. In the second pillar, we have all the global challenges, and we divided them basically in 6 clusters: health, culture, digital industry and space, all the area on climate, energy and mobility, and the big one on bioeconomy, food and agriculture. Going to the next slide, we can see that the program is fully open to international participation. This means that all partners, all researchers, all innovators of any nationality can apply for grants. The situation in Africa is very favorable because, with the exception of Seychelles, all the entities are automatically eligible for funding. So, involving African partners in our your proposals, in your projects, this means that the Commission automatically will support them with funding. We have, as I say, targeted international actions, and they are basically of 3 kinds. The first one include actions that are flagged because their topics are specifically relevant for international cooperation. Then we have specific targeted actions with key partners on strategic thematic areas. For example, with Canada, we have an action dealing with public health example. Then we have another tool that we use for example, for cooperation with Africa. That is what we call Africa Initiative. So we put together a certain number of topics with a focus on Africa. Well, a general concept, 1 out of 5 topics are very relevant to international cooperation. This means a total budget of 3 billion euros for international cooperation actions. In the next slide, we can see more in detail the approach we used for the Africa Initiative. This is an initiative that has been set for the first 2 years of the work program, so 2021-2022. And this is the result of the first ever ministerial between the European Union and the African Union in research and innovation. That was done 1.5 years ago with the objective to finding a solution for on long-term cooperation for public health, socio-economic developments, and the recovery from COVID pandemic. On this purpose, we define a total budget of around 350 million euros for 36 topics under the Africa Initiative call. These are divided in 4 areas: public health, green transition, innovation and technology, and capacity for science. At political level, all our activities in the cooperation between African and European countries are coordinated through what we call HLPD, High-Level Policy Dialogue on Science and Technology, with the participation of the African Union, European Union, and member states from Africa and from Europe. Now I will give you a very short and partial, if you go back 1 second, a partial overview about the opportunities that we offer. But if you find a topic of your interest, a topic you want to get more information about, please go to the web page EU Funding and Tenders portal. Over there, you will find the full text of the topic and all the conditions, the needs to apply to get your proposal. With this, we start with the first topic on public health. Well, just to clarify, you will find some topics with the background like this one in brown. This means that unfortunately the deadline already, the topic already expired, the deadline already passed. But I wanted to leave this just to give you the idea of the opportunity that we offer and we will offer also in the future. When we talk about public health, we cannot avoid also to talk about the EDCTP3. This is a long-term program that started more than 10 years ago. EDCTP stands for European Developed Countries Clinical Trial Partnership. And it's a program with a focus on public health. This program, this partnership evolved in the years. Next one will be a public-private partnership. This means that the European Union will support it together with African member states, European member states, but also the involvement of the private sector, talking also about private donors and private companies. Well, the proposed EU contribution, as you see, is 800 million euros, and there will be also leverage from other sources. I learned a few days ago that this will be doubled, so 800 million euros, sorry, also from the other private and public sources. It's interesting to notice that they will launch calls for proposal from 2022. So if you are working in this sector, it could be a good idea to have a look at the opportunities offered from EDCTP3. Next slide is showing the part of green transition. Obviously, this is a very broad, including 6 subjects going from energy, food, agriculture, biodiversity, mobility, and climate change. The first one, next. The first one is dealing specifically with energy. You see here the deadline with a budget that is not necessarily a budget for one project. We can request in the text also to have more projects with a lower budget. Here you see these are projects dealing with opportunities, dealing with water, energy, food nexus, with innovative plug-and-play situations for storage in off-grid applications, and modeling for energy systems. In the next slide, we go to the transport area. So we have a full electric bus rapid transit systems to strengthen climate-friendly mass transport, and another topic on road transport research. Then there is the part dealing with agriculture and food, with a topic on agroecological approaches in African agricultural systems, and two others dealing with food including all forms of malnutrition and the troubles for African cities. Then we have another area dealing with network-based solutions, and another topic with concerning the nexus of extraction, production, consumption, trade, and behavior partners, and of climate change action on biodiversity in the context of transformative change, and another topic on cooperation with the Convention of Biological Diversity. There is an interesting area that is developing on innovation. We are funding a project wide to put together key players, innovators, startups in Africa and Europe, bridging opportunities, bridging contacts among them. Then we have the part dealing with capacities, so global government, public policies and indicators for well-being and sustainable development. There are two topics on migrants and migration, then gender and social, economic and cultural empowerment. And then there is another topic on forecasting and the early warning systems for rapid deployment of first responders in vulnerable areas. And then there is another topic on support for policymakers. But okay, this is just to give you a very, very short overview. It's not it was not my intention, and on the other way, I don't have the capacity to discuss any single topic that I mentioned. But I would like to make understandable what is the process to define these topics. We have what we call the partnerships. We have, I already mentioned the first one, EDCTP, but also in the area of green transitions, we have two partnerships. The first one is the food, nutrition, security, and sustainable agriculture one that already channeled investment for around 400 million euros based on these four priorities. But at the same time, we have the other one on climate change, sustainable energy. This is newer. But for the moment, there is already an investment of around 100 million euros for topics that has been decided in the frame of this partnership. Then we have also to take into account that there are other areas of cooperation where we can create synergies with research and innovation. Obviously, when we talk about Africa, the main one is the Directorate General for International Partnership, what is called DG INPA. Previously, it was DG DevCo, that is providing opportunities, platforms where we also can talk about research and innovation. One of the most interesting areas is the platform R&I, that is an opportunity offered by the African Academy of Science for African scientists. And this is something similar to the opportunities offered by the European Research Council. So high quality scientists for high quality projects. Then we have the Innovation Fund, so opportunities offered for innovation in the African, Caribbean, and Pacific. And then we have what in our slang is called NDICI, that is also involved in the Global Gateway that has been published a few months ago. That is the idea to set up infrastructures in the area of digital, energy, transport, all over the world, with obviously a focus on Africa. And in the frame of these activities, that obviously include many aspects of cooperation to development, there are also actions with a potential focus on research and innovation. And then there is Erasmus Plus that will be explained by Fiorella later. I just mentioned, I don't know, Fiorella, are you going to talk about Marie Skłodowska? No, no. So I say something about this. These are grants for mobility and training through the development of doctoral programs, collaborative research, so the creations of networks of universities, and fellowship schemes. It's interesting that nowadays this platform offer this action, offer also the opportunity for African researchers to go back to Africa, working there, keeping an open channel with their European universities. And this is a program that is offering a very much a lot of opportunities at different levels with many calls. And it's an important tool for cooperation between Africa and Europe. I mentioned before that we are working on innovation, and just yesterday we had a meeting with African and European member states to set up what we call the innovation agenda. This is an agenda that includes short, medium, and long-term initiatives with the aim to translate R&I into positive impacts for the African and European societies, with aim to build sustainable growth and jobs and develop a sustainable cooperation model. This is obviously done through communication, cooperation, network, capacity building, business creation, financial support, and incubation and acceleration services. Here there is a list of websites that can be of your interest to know more about this cooperation. I would just highlight among them the importance of the National Contact Points networks. These are contact points that are located in European and African countries, with aim to be a kind of entry point to the country. So specifically, if you're looking for a good expert of energy in the area of the Corn of Africa for your project, this also, and you don't have any name ready to be included in your proposal, this can be a good source of content, of information. In the next one, well, I will leave you with the words of my commissioner, Maria Gabriel, that is a commissioner for innovation, research, culture, education, and youth, about the importance of Horizon Europe. And here, just to give you an idea, I talk about multilateral initiatives in specific areas. Here is just an idea how the European Commission is engaged, is involved in many activities in all the different fields. And with this, I think this, go ahead, this should be, yeah, this is the last one. Thanks, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much, Piero, for this interesting overview. Of course, we will have time to dig into some of the details that could have attracted your attention and on which I see that we are already starting receiving reservation to put questions afterwards. But before going there, I would like to ask Fiorella also about what are the opportunities in the education sector, because this is another area, of course, of high importance, especially for universities, and you know, NTNU is a university. So, Fiorella, the floor is yours to give us a bit of overview about the opportunities in the education sector.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you to NTNU for inviting me to update you on the Erasmus Plus program for the period 2021 to 2027. Erasmus Plus is celebrating this year its 35th anniversary, by the way. So I will give you a quick overview. I won't have time to develop, but you will find maybe more details in my slides anyway. Maybe one important piece of information for all of you is that we are planning to set up Erasmus Plus national focal points in most countries of the world. At the moment, we have, of course, national agencies in the EU member states and in the Erasmus program countries. We have national Erasmus offices in the neighboring countries, and as from hopefully this year, by the end of this year, we will have these new Erasmus Plus national contact points in each African country, for example, which is could be useful for those who are interested in participating in the program. So we can move to the next slide. Here you have some general information about the program. The new program, of course, builds on a previous experience with the previous program. It develops and it keeps and develops the actions that have been successful during the previous period, but it is also becoming more international. There are more opportunities which are now open to non-EU countries. Also, there are more opportunities for partnerships involving non-EU countries, and there is, of course, much more money available for non-EU countries participating in the program. We have overall a budget of 26.2 billion euros for the 7-year period, and 70% of this budget is devoted to mobility. But we also have, in addition, 2.2 billion euros coming from the budget for external actions. And in particular, out of this 2.2 billion, 570.2 billion are devoted to Sub-Saharan Africa. So next slide. Yes, I will also give you, like my colleague did, I will mention the main strategic actions that inform the priorities and the objectives of the Erasmus Plus program. Of course, we have the overarching objective of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, but also the European Green Deal, so the big strategies of the institutions, but also the geographical strategy, which is the EU-Africa strategy, and some thematic strategies, which are the European education area, the European research area, but also the EU Digital Education Action Plan, and some of the very latest initiatives, the EU Innovation Agenda that my colleague just mentioned, and also the EU Strategy for Universities that has been recently adopted only a few weeks ago. So we can move to the next slide. Here you see what kinds of actions are supported by Erasmus Plus. So mainly it's mobility, so in mobility of individuals, which is covered both by the International Credit Mobility and by the Erasmus Mundus action, and cooperation between institutions, which is also covered by Erasmus Mundus, and by the capacity building for higher education action, so involving partnerships among the institutions, and the Jean Monnet activities, which are a separate action, which are about promoting EU studies in third countries. And move to the next one, just a few words about the international credit mobility. First of all, it's important to recall that overall, between 2015 and 2020, Erasmus Plus supported 35,000 mobilities between Europe and Africa, and our next target is to reach 105,000 mobilities between Europe and Africa by 2027. So one form of mobility is, as I said, short-term mobility, so between 2 and 12 months, those from undergraduate to PhD, but we also support blended mobility, which combines physical and virtual mobility, and which is, of course, very relevant for the current situation due to COVID. And this is a new feature in the program. So another action that involves mobility, although it's not only about mobility, in fact, it combines individual mobility, but also capacity building and curriculum development between institutions, is the Erasmus Mundus action. It's a full degree support to a full degree at master's level, and it includes both the development of the content of the master's program as such and the connected mobility of students and teachers and staff. Erasmus Mundus supports two types of projects: the traditional Erasmus Mundus joint masters that have been existing for a very long time, but also a new kind of action, which is the Erasmus Mundus design measures, which is a simpler version of the traditional Erasmus Mundus, which is intended to support newcomers to the action and to help them gradually develop their capacity to then build up a fully fledged Erasmus Mundus master's program. Okay. And then we also have, as I said, the institutional cooperation actions, and one of them is the capacity building for higher education action. It's about international cooperation among higher education institutions to develop capacities and to develop also higher education systems in third countries. This action is not accessible to highly developed countries. So it's really an action that supports countries which really need to make more progress in the education systems and education institutions. We have a specific strand devoted to Africa, so capacity building for higher education in Africa. And this action also supports not only partnerships, but also national projects designed to support or to address specific challenges of specific countries. Next. And the Jean Monnet activities. So as I said, this is about promoting European studies and dialogue between European countries and non-European countries. It's about providing grants to higher education professors in third countries, so in non-European countries, to teach about Europe and the process of European integration, and to spread knowledge about European studies. And this action does not need any partnership, so it's not linked to any kind of partnership, and it is open now to African countries for the first time. Next slide. Just for your information, here you see some opportunities that are available for organizations which are not part of higher education. So we have actions in capacity building also for vocational education and training, now for the first time open to Africa and to the rest of the world. The Erasmus Virtual Exchange also open to the whole world. And the capacity building for youth, which is only open to certain regions. Yes, a little bit more details about these actions. So the Erasmus Virtual Exchanges are basically online people-to-people activities to promote intercultural dialogue and soft skills. And they exist in higher education and in youth. They are open to sub-Saharan Africa and, of course, to all the other countries of the world. And they were first piloted during the previous period with certain neighboring countries, including Northern African countries. Okay. Next slide. Again, for your information, we have created since 2019 African Students and Alumni Forum, ASAF, which is basically an alumni platform for those individuals who have benefited from scholarships, Erasmus Plus scholarships, but also from other EU programs from Africa, involving Africa mobility between Africa and the European Union. And then finally, you have a few slides here, 2 slides, where you can find more details about the budgets devoted to each of the different regions of the world under Erasmus Plus for the current period, the new period. The next one also provides more details specifically on the capacity building actions and other figures. And the next final slides provide more practical information about who can apply for Erasmus, for which action, where you have to apply. The next slide also for which here you have the actions for which you can apply and the deadlines for the different actions. And in the final slide, you have links to the various websites where you can get more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fiorella, for this overview about the opportunities and also about the new initiatives ongoing. Just an information, as I see that some people are already asking for it. Yes, the slides will be shared with the participants after the end of the event. So don't worry, you're going to receive the material. And moreover, if you want to follow the event after it or to re-listen to what we have said, it will be also published on the Brussels office web pages that you have seen at the beginning. In the section 1 Hour with Europe, you will find the recording of today's event for you to even go again on it if you want to revise what has been said. Given that we still have about 20 minutes, I propose maybe to go 10 minutes later because we have quite many people asking questions. Feel free now even to write questions on the Q&A area. In any case, I'm going to give the word to the one which are putting the questions on it. And on the questions that we are not capable to answer, I'm kindly asking if Piero and Fiorella are available to do the writing answer afterwards. Yeah, so we will try to address all your questions. So Aaron, can you open the Q&A on the main screen here, the Q&A chat? So the first one which asked to put the question is Glory Ogwebu. Glory, you are now going to be promoted to panelists, so make sure to accept our invitation and open your camera and microphone and put your question directly to the speaker you would like. So please, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great opportunity to be here. Mr. Piero, thank you for your enlightening presentation on EU plans for Africa. I'm happy to see things finally picking up since the EU Africa strategy was launched in 2020. I think this meeting is very timely because we are in the strive for a better climate and towards a clean energy transition. But before I get to my question, I want to just share a few statistics that 10 million people die every year in Africa as a result of no or poor access to electricity. 4 million women die as a result of exposure to poor cooking fuel. So access to electricity in Africa is a quest of urgency. But we also have the climate challenge though, and stakeholders in Africa think that the urgency of electricity access is much more important than the climate challenge. And they are right to think so, since Africa contributes only 0.55% of global carbon emissions. Personally, I'm of the opinion that strategies must be in place to enable a balanced and a just transition. I have been in the climate and energy transition sector for over 7 years. And in the course of my work, I have observed a great deal of potential across the 5 thematic areas of the EU Africa strategy. For example, under the smart urbanization and mobility thematic area, I conducted a research on e-mobility preparedness of Nigeria and South Africa, where I interviewed EV startup owners. I observed something shocking in Nigeria, where there is no policy or regulation for electric vehicles, that there were hundreds of EV startups already piloting business models. But I quickly saw that there was almost no capacity for these people to thrive in the near future. Another thing I've seen as a challenge is that there's a big gap between the grassroots level organization who are implementing the solutions and also the decision makers who are up there setting the rules. For example, during COP26, where I was one of the delegates, I spoke with a lady who I would call Amina, who was in the clean cooking sector, who told me in confidence that the clean cooking NDCs submitted by her country is a waste of time. According to her, most women in her community do not use the stoves because it is difficult to use and they abandon it after a while. So I wondered about that disparity and that gap between these decision makers and the people who are actually implementing these solutions. And having women like Amina as part of the stakeholders will ensure the progress of those kinds of initiatives. But these and many more are the areas that need urgent attention, and I've prepared a document on strategies to achieve the 5 thematic areas of the EU-Africa strategy, which I had shared with the person that invited me for the webinar. I can share it with everyone if I can get email addresses. But to achieve the EU-Africa strategy, the EU needs a strong representation of an African young leader who is in touch with both extreme sides and who can help to advance action and deliver tangible results on the side of the EU. So, Mr. Piero, I'd like to nominate myself to work with you and assist you to achieve EU's plans for Africa engagement. I am 32 years old. I'm right at the prime of my youth. I'm well experienced and I can bring a lot to the table.
Okay. Thank you, Glory, for this
yes.
overview.
I want to ask my question, please, if you don't mind. I will be in Brussels from 11th February. Please give me an appointment to meet with you and discuss more. I hope my request will be granted. My question is, how prepared are you to engage African youths to play important roles in the EU-Africa strategy? What specific plans do you have for youth engagement that is different from what the EU has previously done? I also have a question for the lady there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry for my long speech, but thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation as well. And thank you for sharing all those details. I founded an initiative called Renewable Energy Technology Training Institute. And last year, because of the energy transition, we launched Africa Fellowship for Young Energy Leaders. We received 500 applications from young engineers in the power sector in Africa from 27 countries. Right now, they are undergoing a 5-month fellowship.
Sorry, can you go to the question, because we have other people that have the right also to intervene.
I know.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you. My question on the African Fellowship is, what types of engagements do you do with educational initiatives in Africa? What types of collaboration, and are you open to collaborations of any kind, such as exchanges? Right now, for the graduates of our program, we're looking for exchanges where some of them can learn from what the EU is doing, and some people from the EU, some fellows from the EU can learn from what these African students are also doing. Do you think that there's a platform to encourage that kind of exchange? If you don't mind, whilst I'm in Brussels, I would also like to meet and talk more.
Okay, thank you very much for your intervention. Quite long. I kindly ask the other to intervene, to try to be short, to respect the possibility to give space to all of you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Ogwembo, for your question. So, Piero.
Okay, I try to be shorter than you to reply. Well, obviously, we take a lot of care about the social component, about the impact of our research for the society. There are specific tools. Well, there are tools that are considering basic research. So the research at the beginning of the production chain, research in the labs, research in the fields. But there are many other topics that are focused on the impact of our research in the society. So obviously, in this case, there are opportunities to work in the frame of a proposal, to work also on the last part of it. So we will have the research, applications, labs, but then also the application by the private sector or public NGOs, whatever, and the results that will go to the people, to the society in different parts of Africa. And well, this is a process that is carried out, the decisional process of our topics is carried out in a very open way. We have different tables, different workshops, different platforms where our topics are, where different proposals are discussed, are selected, and at the end we publish the topics. So it's not really a hidden process. It's not really a hidden process. It's just very open. For your kind invitation, very kind. But next week I will fly to Addis Ababa, so I will not be in Brussels, unfortunately. The 11th of February.
So you're going back to your duties.
I go back to my duties. Yeah, that's it.
Fiorella.
Yes, so to the question regarding collaboration and exchanges opportunities, and if there is a platform for this, well, the platform is Erasmus+, actually. I mentioned before in my presentation that we have funded through Erasmus+, 35,000 mobilities between Europe and Africa over 6 years. And what are these 35,000 mobilities? They are young people, students, university students, most of them. There are also teachers and administrative staff, but the large majority, the vast majority of them are young people who have been traveling from Europe to Africa, from Africa to Europe, to spend a study period in a foreign university and to discover the culture of the host country. So this is what we have. And of course, we have also, I mentioned the virtual exchanges, which is a new opportunity, that's about new opportunities, where young people can meet and exchange online, so despite COVID.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a question from Ebenezer High from Benjamin. So we are going to upgrade you, Ebenezer, as a panelist for you to intervene directly. Can you also state your affiliation? Thank you. You should appear in a second. Yeah, you have to accept our invitation to become a panelist. That should appear on your screen. Ebenezer? No, probably is not online. Then, okay.
If you want, I can reply shortly to.
Yeah, maybe we should write the question from Ebenezer. Can you open the Q&A, Aaron? Yeah, thank you. So the question is, what is the role of private enterprises? Because we have discussed a lot about research and innovation players, but what is the role of private enterprises in the EU context of today's conversation and the participation in the Commission Program for International Project Action? Do you have a dialogue, for example, for defining the priorities and strategies?
Well, obviously, the private enterprises are involved in our dialogues, and our topics are fully open to the participation of the private sector. So, if there is an interest, it's this process is the participation of private enterprises is extremely welcome, is essential in our process.
Yeah, thank you. And I have also another question from Olga Sumara, which I'm going to read myself. Do you think there are calls that also support basic science? So basically, is the excellence pillar, I suspect, open also to collaborations between EU and African research groups?
Yeah, there is well, obviously the European Research Council is opening its call for basic research, but also I would invite to have a look also at the R&I program that I mentioned before. This is coordinated by the African Academy of Science. And also in that case, there are topics, there are opportunities for funding for supporting basic science projects.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to open the floor to Murat Arderlan, which has an interesting question. Murat, be ready to upgrade yourself. Yeah, you should have received our invitation to become a panelist. Yeah. Murat, the floor is yours for your question.
Hello. Thank you, Massimo, for arranging this meeting, and thank you for panelists also. I don't want to take too much time. I mean, my question is related to Mediterranean because I think this is a physical and cultural, political interface between Africa and Europe. I wonder whether we have, I mean, EU has any plans specifically for Mediterranean country in the other side of the Mediterranean, I mean, North African focus. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Murat. Well, we have a specific tool that is Prima. Prima is a platform dealing essentially with agriculture. I'm sorry, I don't remember anymore the meaning of the name Prima, but you can find it very easily. And it's an action coordinated by by Mediterranean countries, both in Europe and in Africa. And this is an option. Take into account that all the activities that we are managing with Africa offer also opportunities to the African Mediterranean country to participate, and the colleagues from the Mediterranean Africa are deeply involved in what we are doing.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. I would like to ask Wolfram Schmidt to be ready to intervene. There is a question for Fiorella. Wolfram, you are going to receive our invitation in a moment. Yes, you should be capable to intervene if you accept it. Perfect. Maybe there is a bit of lag. Yeah, here you are. Can you also state your affiliation, Wolfram?
Yes, okay, now you should be able to see me. Thank you for giving me this question, for allowing me this question. I had two questions, because therefore I want to ask which one should I raise. The first one, I guess. So yeah. My name is Wolfram Schmidt from the German Federal Institute for Materials Research and Testing. And I was wondering a little bit about the definition of level playing field. I overheard that word quite many times, and I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit more on that, just to better understand what it means and what is level playing, because it's a very subjective perception probably from a European perspective. Maybe you can just elaborate a little bit more how we should use this vocabulary.
It's for Fiorella, the question, correct? Or it's for Piero?
I think it's with respect to the first presentation.
Okay, Piero,
sorry,
it's yours.
I didn't follow, sorry.
Sorry, we didn't catch your question. Sorry,
very short. Could you probably just elaborate a little bit more what is meant by level playing field? It was a vocabulary you used quite many times at the beginning, just for us to better understand what it means, because that might be something very subjective, depending on from where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, this is a definition that we use at political level. So we wanted to negotiate with other countries, other regions, being at the same level. So as I say, we should have a situation where we can share programs, we can share as partners from all over the world can attend our program. We want to have a similar situation, also a reciprocity. So at the same time, Europeans can participate to their program, and this must be done, obviously creating a similar situation for all of them.
And the second question you were having, Wolfram?
The second question was related to the Erasmus Youth program. And I overheard from the presentation that it is limited to specific regions. So I wanted to understand why it is limited to specific regions. And secondly, which are these regions?
Yes, indeed. Yes, the participation is limited to the neighboring regions, which are basically the eastern neighborhood of the European Union and the southern neighborhood. So North Africa is has access to the youth actions of the Erasmus Plus program. These actions are not open to sub-Saharan Africa, but this does not mean that the European Union does not do anything about sub-Saharan Africa youth. The actions are developed at local level, at national level, at bilateral level with the individual countries to better take into account their specific needs. So there is no overarching action for youth in sub-Saharan Africa, but through the EU delegations, there are bilateral programs for youth that are implemented in the different countries.
Thank you. Next question, let's see. We have a question we have several questions about UK, but I suspect that this is a delicate argument as everything is still under discussion and negotiation, so it's a bit of more complex. I would like just to give 2 minutes the floor to Catalina Falfoldi, which has an interesting information for you. So Catalina, feel free to state what you wanted to say, because I think, of course, cost is another interesting initiative that can be used for nurturing collaborations. So, Catalina, as soon as you will appear as a panelist, the floor will be yours. Feel free to open your microphone and camera. Catalina, yeah.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much, Massimo, for organizing the event and giving me the floor. I didn't expect it, but it's always very good. This was only just to raise the point about the COST program. That is a program funded by the Horizon Europe framework program under the Widening Participation and Spreading Excellence pillar. And this is a program that is funding the networking of researchers and innovators with the possibility and welcoming of global participation. So participants from African countries are also welcome, and they do participate in the collaboration set up under the program. And we very recently, actually last December, published a mapping document that we wrote together with the SFIC Africa Working Group, which looked into the collaboration between the European and African partners within the cost actions. And this might be also an interesting opportunity for researchers to collaborate and you to read and get to have a bit of information. If you go to the website of cost.eu, you can find this document. I also put the link into the chat. So if you wish to or can put it next to the presentation afterwards, then thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Katalin, for this overview about another important instrument the Commission has put in place, because basically there is the European Commission behind COST, even if COST is also in organizational terms, and the member states are funders for the initiative, but it's an important tool even to start new collaborations. So I think it's very relevant, the information you're sharing with us. As we are running out of time, I'm going to take another couple of questions if our speakers allow. I don't want to exploit too much your kindness. Maybe it's interesting, the question from Elisabetta Airaghi, which I think is for Piero. Elisabetta, if you are still online, yes, be ready to intervene. Meanwhile, I put Piero on the front side. Yes, Elisabetta, please feel free to open your microphone and pose your question.
Hello, good morning. Thank you. Sorry, I don't have the camera because I'm on a fixed computer. Yes, I'm working for KEA European Affairs. We are a research center based in Brussels, and we work on policy design for the culture and creative sectors. And we are partner in an Horizon project called Illucidare that works on investigating how heritage can be a resource for innovation and international relations. And then I think there are opportunities to maybe mainstream heritage and culture as cross-cutting issues in some of the funding opportunities and collaboration mechanisms that you presented. So I would like to ask you if you see this and what's your opinion on the role of culture and heritage. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Well, this is a recurrent question, you know, when we talk about heritage, culture, the question is why there are not specific topics for us where we can find our place in the other proposals. Well, frankly speaking, this is up to the coordinator of the proposal, up to you and your team to discuss together and find a place in the proposal for this aspect. Obviously, in proposals on subjects that are covering all the chain, there are always opportunities also for culture, for heritage. It's true that I mean you have to find a reasonable way to put it in the context of the general proposal.
Thank you. We have a question for Fiorella from Emmanuel Viga. Yes. Please, Emmanuel, open your camera and microphone.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you are hearing me.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you very much for the initiative, and thank you panelists for the informative presentations. Just a quick one. I just have been following the Erasmus Mundus programs very keenly for the last 3 years, and I try to look into the programs and their course outlines. They seem to be very packaged for the European context. How do this then factor into the African context? Will they not encourage human capital flight from Europe to Africa instead of having an African-based curriculum that answers African problems? How do you sort that out in your curriculum development here? Thank you.
Yes, I mean, Erasmus Mundus programs are developed in partnership by all the participating institutions, so both by the African institutions involved and the European ones. And the result is the result of a joint work among all the different partners and institutions. There is a novelty this year in Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters, which is the possibility for non-European countries to be leaders of projects, so project coordinators. This was not the case previously, the previous programs, and from now on, it's not only European institutions that can lead an Erasmus Mundus project, but also non-European, so including African institutions, and this should probably also help to address the specific context of Africa.
Thank you. As we are now running out of time, of course, we want to respect also the fact that you devoted 1 hour to us, and we don't want to profit from your kind interest. You have been more than 260 connected today, so I would like to congratulate our speaker for the interest raised in their participation here. We are going, in any case, to take care of the questions that you have put on the Q&A part, kindly asking to our speaker to provide us the possibility to answer you in writing. I would like to remember the presentation will be sent to the registered participants after the event, as well as the recording of this session will be available soon on the website ntnu.edu/Brussels. I would like to thank you all for attending. I would like to thank Fiorella and Piero for the interesting presentation they had, and would like to thank you on behalf of NTNU for having participated today. Looking forward to meet you again in the next appointment with 1 Hour with Europe. Have a nice day to everybody, and also a nice weekend as it is Friday. See you next time. Bye.